Hello, coffee people. Welcome to the podcast Coffee Business in the Middle East. My name is Irina Shaipova, and I'm speaking with the key players of the coffee industry in the world and in the Middle East. And I just spoke with Luiz, who is president of Specialty Coffee Association of Brazil. I'm super inspired after this conversation, and we spoke about the current situation, what's happening with the sea market, how it impacts, what is the difference between specialty and non-specialty coffee process in Brazil. I do believe you will like the conversation, so please enjoy. Hello, Luiz. How are you?
Hello, Irina. Nice to having me here. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, it's my pleasure as well. So welcome to Dubai. Welcome to the world of coffee. Could you please introduce yourself in a nutshell, if it is possible? I know you have such incredible experience in coffee, but in a nutshell, please.
Thank you so much. Well, I always start saying I'm a coffee farmer. So I have been farming coffee for 22 years now. I have a background in agronomical engineering, and my curiosity in the chain in order to understand better how to plant, cultivate, process, and sell coffees made me this pathway through education. So nowadays I am an educator, so I'm instructor for processing program from CQI, the Q grading from SCA. And I have some roles nowadays. I serve as a board of directors at the SCA and also as the president of the Brazilian Specialty Coffee Association board.
Wow, that's incredible. For me, it's important to talk to you because Brazil, it's not the motherland of coffee, but it's an important player in the market. And of course, there are lots of myths, rumors, especially with the current situation, which we need to discuss what's happening with the price. I want to start first with the what's happening with coffee in Brazil right now this year, because I think the harvest finished. And what is the volumes, like what is the market, like do you sell more or less?
Yes, that's the hardest question ever. As you know, as you said, Brazil is not the mother of coffee, but it's one of the big brothers. Nowadays, we are the biggest producer of Arabica and the second one in Canephora. And coffee, as you know, we can never see just 1 year. So the things that are happening now, they started at least 2 or 3 years ago because of the bienniality cycles of coffee, okay? Yes, we finished the crop. The harvest finished around September, October. So this year the crop was slightly bigger than the previous year. So the expectations from CONAB, that is the Brazilian official numbers, they say something around 63 million coffee bags in the year. It's a little better. So the previous year was around 60 million. The exportations, they got a little stuck because of the tariff situation, and one of our mainly markets is US. Nowadays, it's getting a better flow. But again, it's not a huge crop because we had a record crop in 21-22 of 72 million coffee bags, more or less. And for the last 3-4 crops, we kind of stuck it mainly because of weather problems. We have been seeing a sequence of El Niños and La Niñas with problems of drought, frost, heat waves. So this uncertainty is definitely pushing the market to the numbers we see nowadays, and it will keep pushing the market to what we are going to probably see in the future, despite all the other problems we have in terms of geopolitical, in terms of logistics. So coffee is a very complex market. But coming back to your question, the harvest finished. Exportations are in the full swing. And Brazil is now preparing for the next crop, for the 2026.
That's interesting. So speaking of the price, so I heard, and especially that when I was in Brazil last year in September, when we spent 1 week, it was like we came, the price was 420, then it became 360 when we left country. So what was the impact and how farmers feel about this? And what about the customer? Yeah, because yes, the traders, they buy coffee, but we are coming to another step in our key value chain. It's the roasters who buy coffee, and then they need to explain the price to the customers of them. Yeah.
Yes.
So what's happening now, and do you see the situation as it will become worse, or we are trying to slowly increase the price, and you recommend it to do so?
A couple of billions dollars question.
Yeah.
So yes, when you visited was a very specific moment. Market had a huge impact in terms of the tariffs. So when they were applied and then when they were removed, and this for sure caused a great impact. Let's see from the fundamental side. From the fundamental side, we have been seeing record crops for both Arabica and Canefra the last 2 years. A lot of coffee has been exported from origins, and we had this question mark in terms of how would the demand behave with such higher prices. So first wave, people thought, okay, these prices are too high, we are going to see a collapse in the demand. Not necessarily that happened. The demand kept increasing while world stocks were consumed. So we can say the last 4 crops, we had higher consumption than production, and stocks were consumed. That's what brings us today to these prices are still very high. What we need to understand, we are right now with the export season, exportable season from the biggest Arabica producer. Centrals are also now coming to the market thinking about Arabica, and the prices are still around $350 per pound in New York. Still high prices, okay?
Yeah.
What we need to understand, we still have a deficit. There is a prediction that next crop, the 26 cycle, maybe we will have a surplus of a couple of million bags. It's still an uncertainty. Why? Because you need to confirm these numbers. And for that, we need to get back to Brazil. As we said, biggest Arabica producer, second Canefra. What are we seeing for the 2026 crop? In order we confirm this world surplus, Brazil would be a big part of that, because Brazil should have a record, a massive, huge crop to help in this surplus. What we saw so far does not show us this record. What happened? The rains that were supposed to come to Brazil during the spring, that is September, October, they were kind of erratic. They were not massive rains well distributed from all the producing regions. So it triggered the flowering. And then we had September, October, and November, some rain. So we had several flowerings. This makes a mess for the plant. So right now, we are on January. Some of the small beans from the last flowering, they are dropping in the floor. Okay? So basically, the flowers, they were delayed. They were not uniform, and now we are losing some of the coffees from the last flowering because of this physiological aspect of the plants, okay? Showing us not necessarily a record. Now, where are we gonna see the definition? The definition for Brazilian crop is January, February, and the beginning of March. Why? Now is when the plants in the most majority of the producing regions of Brazil are filling the beans. So now rains and temperatures that are not excessive temperatures are really demanded in order we can assure a good production. So we cannot say about a record yet because it's not confirmed. We'll need to wait, see these next months to see how this projection of a good crop will or not be confirmed. To your question of the price, while we are waiting for this crop that we still don't know the size of it, but so far it's not showing a record, we have this past crop that is not a big crop that is being exported. So we will probably see this shortage before the new crop comes to the market and the 2025 crop ends. So what I'm telling you, there is this probability of seeing some market movements before the beginning of the exports of 2026 crop that will only come to the market after August, September. Up to them, we'll need to lead with the 2025 crop being exported to make this shortage in the middle. We are not sure if it's going to be able to do that or if it's going to cause some big collapse in terms of market prices.
I see. So does it mean, I'm sorry if it sounds maybe a bit unknowledgeable from my side, but the best time to buy coffee, is it there any definition? Or if you're a trader, I'm talking about trader, yeah, because not every roaster can afford to buy directly from the farm. So is there any specific time for this year, let's say?
Yeah, that's very hard. Again, depends if you are a trader, if you are trading specific qualities, it will depend on your origin. Of course, you are trading and hedging your position in the market. Some of the bigger movements of the market are made because of Brazil. So what do you have in terms of things that happen in Brazil that can direct impact the market? When you are assuring the harvest, so this January, February, March, because of availability of rains and the temperature. If it is too hot and if it's too dry, you have this impact of the market probably going up because it shows probability of lower production in the upcoming crop, okay? Then you have the harvest season in Brazil, and the harvest season in Brazil coincides exactly with the winter. And that's when we have the risk of cold fronts getting to Brazil. So let's say from May to the end of July or the first week of August, you can always see this risk of cold fronts, frosts coming to Brazil. And this can also direct impact the market with prices going high or down, because you always see the prediction of the frost, but then you need to confirm the impact. If it burned the coffee trees or if it was a physiological damage that not necessarily burned the trees. After that, when you finish the harvest and the winter season is gone, you start seeing the weight of the blossoming period that will theoretically go from September to October, sometimes the beginning of November. And again, if you see huge flowering periods in Brazil, this can bring the market down. If you have any delays in terms of the rains, you can see the market going higher. December, January, you see the confirmation of these flowers. So we, as farmers, we say seeing flowers is not the same as seeing coffee beans, and it's not the same of seeing cherries, because you have the flowers, you need to wait another 6 months, 7 months in order this will really turn or not in cherries, and if you're going to be able to harvest it or not. So just looking from the Brazilian scenario, and Brazil is huge. So you see from the south, from Paraná to Bahia, that is in the northeast, or even to Rondônia, where some canéforas are produced. It depends the conditions that are happening in each different region. So you can have things that happen in the canéfora zone production, but not in Arabica, things that happen in Arabica, but not in canéfora. Now getting back to your best time, that's the complexity, because this would be from the production, from the biggest Arabica, second canéfora producer in the world, but then you have geopolitical problems. If you have any kind of risk of war that directly impacts the prices very fast. What we saw in terms of the tariffs, that was direct correlated with price when tariffs came and when they came out. So it's really hard as a trader, in order to mitigate your risk. Basically, you need to know your supply chain, because then you also need to hedge your quality, your delivery time, and your price. Is not just about hedging the price. The price is one side. If you are speaking about specialty mainly, you need to check everything. And from the other side, from the roasters, it's the same thing, because you cannot have this silver bullet, mainly nowadays with lower stocks, geopolitical problems, logistic problems. What we need to work in terms of developing or discovering or realizing the really value of your product and communicating this with consumers. Coffee as a product that stimulates our limbic system, our rewarding system, is something that can add value, but this should be communicated through the whole chain, and this value and this risk mitigation should be distributed along the value chain. It's probably one of the disruptions that we are seeing in the market with these higher prices. You cannot just try to buy in the as low as possible, because mainly you can have problems on receiving these coffees. And the same thing with the roasters, like it's not just selling in the highest price, because then you can compromise your demand. It's about sharing this value proposition through the whole value chain.
Absolutely, yeah. To me, because I'm not an agronomist, but of course you need to know everything related to terroir, soil, climate change, and etc. You sort of play with nature. It's how I see from my side, as just a coffee consultant and expert. Plus, speaking of value chain, that's important. Yeah, we have a coffee value chain map, which was created by SCA. I really love it, and I encourage everyone who works in coffee, starting from the barista to like training manager, everyone should know it, because yeah, we can compare it with I don't know, extracting espresso. You cannot say you need to extract espresso only 25 seconds. No way. Yes, we have range. So with importing, exporting coffee, I think it's sort of same. You cannot say the definition. You cannot predict. Yeah, you can sort of predict, as you just explained to me, regarding the blooming flowers, the climate change, but you never know about the geopolitical situation. Plus, speaking of roasters, because I work mostly with roasters who buy coffee, nowadays what's happening, imagine, roasters have to increase their price, right? They have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no margin.
Yep.
And the consumers, the coffee shop owners, they say, so Brazil, Sul de Minas, it's 150, like 100 dirham per kg, but there is Ethiopia, 100 dirham per kg, which is better quality, or maybe someone is selling now specialty coffee for this price. So now we are on this period of time, because some people haven't increased their price, and the consumers see, so these people didn't increase price, I will switch to them, which will ruin the whole sustainability of the supply chain. And then what we will see, I believe so, in 1 year, when these people will have to increase price, because now the competition is very tight here. And one of the roasters, they say, okay, we will still try to be like, we dump our price to be the cheapest, because we need volumes. But it will finish. They cannot keep the price from last year. Sooner or later, even they roast 1 ton or 5 ton, they cannot keep the same price, right? So which means, correct me if I'm wrong, that roasters, they need to buy this coffee, they will increase the price. Then customers, whether it's coffee shop or a consumer, they will see the increase in the menu, let's say. Yeah, so the cappuccino will not cost $5, it will cost $7, let's say. My question is, we will see, because you work with specialty as well, we will see the same price in specialty coffee shop and the same price in, let's say, regular coffee shop, right? So sometimes you can see it, like here, like I can buy good quality coffee for 25 dirham, and specialty coffee sometimes, like Ethiopian beans, they can sell it for the same price. Yeah. And we sort of confuse a customer these days. Do you think it's like a transition period? We need to explain to customers, to people, that it's a period of time that price will increase. Like, what do you think about this?
That's amazing. I would say as an amazing opportunity, and mainly an amazing opportunity for specialty or specialty chains. I see that in our opinion, like coffee was sold very cheap for a very long time. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And now we have this opportunity of this kind of disruption, because in the very recent past, everybody would say, oh, we cannot sell it more expensive because the demand will decrease. And we are seeing that not necessarily this occurred, because we were selling coffee very cheap. And this phenomenon of non-specialty or more commercial or less attribute-defined products being sold with prices very close to specialties, this is a phenomenon that has happened in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
That's where I say the opportunity is. Why? because when we look at what is happening, when we look at specialty coffee, speaking about discovering value and not only using just physical attributes as the description of a product, but also adding the extrinsic attributes to get to the experience of the consumer. That's where, for me, the opportunity is. The specialty can bring these different layers of extrinsic attributes, where this product came from, how it was produced, who are the farmers, which is the region, which is the processing method, all this, and create this unique experience for the consumer. So price per price competition, if you have something that can deliver so much better experience, that's the golden opportunity for the specialty sector. Look, clients can pay more for this. We can have a lot of new entrances, a lot of new consumers for specialty, because now everything kind of the same price. But if the specialty chain can deliver this different experience for this consumer, probably this is the key of when market gets back to normality or to kind of lower prices, you still have your consumers based on an experience that you can offer to them.
Exactly. Yes, that's true, because it's what bothers some customers. Because if they ask where to drink coffee, why I pay in the restaurant this price and another restaurant this price and the specialty coffee shop another price, this the same coffee. Coffee is coffee. You know, because I work with like different types of customers. But for me, yes, you're right. It's interesting point that it's our time to promote specialty coffee, to enhance the experience. Luckily, we have a lot of beautiful coffee shops. We have barista competitions over here. So the key point is education.
It's education.
From every side. Farmers, traders, trainers, baristas, and consumers. So everyone should know the industry. So eventually that's, if you like consume something, you need to understand what's happening behind the product, right? It's like with any industry.
Such a precise point. Education is the point, because in the end of the day, it's a matter of mindset. It's a matter of developing or building a culture. And to build culture, we need education. To redistribute value, we need education. Why? The consumer needs to know all the work of a roast master to achieve that roasting curve, to express the best. But they also need to understand that the flavors transformed during roast were created in a farm by producers through the collaboration with nature, through the interaction of genetics, soil, climatic conditions, all the management, the nurturing, to put that inside a living seed, and then drying, storaging, transporting, identifying these flavors, transforming for roasting, find the best brewing method, the right cup, the right environment of a coffee shop, the right color of the package, everything, the music, the environment, all these will bring this experience.
Exactly.
And if the consumer, if each one in the chain, in the different roles each one of us have in the chain, if we have this knowledge, this understanding, is the only way we will value the other actors, and together we'll build a sense of community, and we will distribute value, and this value will be also recognized by consumers.
Exactly, yeah. Honestly, you know, I teach people, and for me, the best students are the beginners.
Yes.
Their mind is exploding when I explain them, like we need to respect every type of coffee, and I always compare with another industries.
Yes.
For example, pastries. If you want like best croissant, you have to search where to eat the best croissant.
That's it. That's it.
Because you need to know which butter they use. They use the starter, the yeast, and etc. The same is because for some people I notice if you compare it with food, and everyone's like, yeah, tea, yes, pastry, yes, but coffee, yes, coffee is also the product, important product, and there are lots of things happening. And yeah, so education, I love doing education. Yeah, it's my job, and I think it's amazing that people started to be curious. Of course, because of the impact of the culture of third wave coffee as well. And of course, one of the rumors about coffee that's everyone define coffee is just coffee, coffee flavor. And of course, Brazilian coffee flavor is a typical what represents this coffee flavor for the most of the consumers. When I visited Brazil, I knew about specialty coffee in Brazil, that it exists, but unfortunately we don't have it much presented here in the Middle East. I believe it will happen soon everywhere because people have this, understanding about Brazil, like it's simple coffee, it's cheap, why you serve me Brazil, and it's the way you serve it, the way you tell about this, like, no, we have specialty Brazil. So, what is the specialty coffee of Brazil? What is happening right now? Because is it like a recent movement? Like, can you tell a little bit more? Because it's like the most important for us to understand, like, Brazilian coffee is not only nuts and chocolate.
Yes, thank you so much. So first, we need to understand that coffee arrived in Brazil. Next year, we will make the anniversary of 300 years of coffee in Brazil. So it arrived in Brazil in 1727. But up to the 90s, 1991, we used to have what was called the Brazilian Institute of Coffee. In the age of codes for exporting, the government had much more control in terms of price definition. And it was not kind of a system for meritocratic payment for quality. So let's say from 1727 to 1990s, not a lot was made for quality. So yes, we can say the specialty is a new movement in Brazil. In 1991, a bunch of extremely entrepreneurs and visionary coffee farmers founded BSCA, 1991. To showcase the world, so the extinction of IBC was 1991. Just after that, these entrepreneurs founded BSCA to show to the world that, wow, Brazil also has a specialty. It's not just the commodity. So imagine you producing a lot of coffee and blending everything. In the end, you have the average. And this average used to define what was to expect about Brazil. Nuts, chocolatey, some dryness, something like that in the 90s. In 1999, Brazil starts, and it was a program from Brazil. The idea came from Brazil and then in partnership with ACE. But Brazil starts COE in Brazil. So the Cup of Excellence was born in Brazil to showcase that Brazil could produce specialty coffees. From a recent, 8 years, founded association, BSCA, and look the transformation it caused in the world. So it's really a new movement. From the 2000 on, we start seeing much more research. So Brazil has a huge bunch of universities doing very specialized research in terms of nowadays a lot in genetics, a lot in best agronomical practices, regenerative agriculture, so decreasing the impact and increasing the results in terms of sustainability. A lot being done in processing, so with microbes, with terroir, so different research institutes. And what's happening now is that this giant woke up. So this giant of coffee production woke up through research and education and wealthiness, because Brazil is the one that pays more from the FOB price back to farmers, to producers. So with productivity, with a good management of the farms as a business, so knowing your costs of production, adding now the quality layer of additional prices or additional value, this is being wealthy, and the sons and daughters of farmers, they are going to school, they are going to universities, and they are coming back to the farms, making this virtual cycle of Brazil. Combined with research in good practice and machinery equipment, Brazil is making a whole transformation of better genetics adapted to its specific terroirs, better people that know how to manage people, know how to run a business, applying this technology in the farms and creating some very specific unknown flavors or profiles that you would say, oh, that's not Brazil. In fact, it is a new Brazil. It's the Brazil of different flavor profiles, but with a bunch of nice histories behind each cup of coffee. So one of the strengths of Brazil, we always say sweetness is one strength. The mouthfeel, not only the weight, but also the texture of Brazilian coffees, it's another strength. Now we have some florals, some fruitiness with the chocolatey, depends on the processing profile, depends on the genetics that is being applied, but we have full traceability. It's a super sustainable and transparent system with this extrinsic attribute of traceability. You know exactly everything was done, when its coffee comes from, who produced it, the history of each family. So I think Brazil has this whole package of showcasing the world quantity with stability, now with quality, with diversity, with technology. But the alicerce, the base, is sustainability, transparency, and making sustainable in terms of wealthiness for the whole chain, for the farmers, for the employees, for the ones that are buying these coffees. And this is the message that we need to take to final consumers. So they will understand what is being done in Brazil, they will see this value, and this will be distributed through the whole chain.
Yeah. Wow, I was really fascinated in Brazil when I visited association, when I visited specialty coffee company CMI, SMI, sorry.
SMC.
SMC, yes. I was really impressed because, yes, this is real coffee and the education there, the standards you have are phenomenal. Do you think it can compete with, because everyone is speaking nowadays about Panamanian coffee, because Cup of Excellence, I don't know why, but I used to associate with Panama. Now we have it in multiple countries, but what do you think, what is the challenge right now? Or it's like a very positive movement and you're just working, or you are struggling with it?
I think it's not a challenge, it's again, opportunity. So let's see this year's Brazil Cup of Excellence. For us was a great surprise because we saw this movement, and the Panamanian geishas are unbelievable. They're really good. And one thing we have been doing in the past years was trying to copy their profile. Oh, this is geisha from Brazil. It's not necessarily the same thing. But what we saw this year in COE, Brazilian varieties. So we have the Arara that was created from Pro Café, and it got the record price in the auction, even higher than the geishas that were in the COE. So we had Brazilian geishas awarded, but the Brazilian varieties like Arara were being awarded with higher prices, so being paid higher than geisha. And for me, probably this is like a disruption in terms of quality and value, discovery and perception. So look, we have this variety, it's better adapted for Brazil. It can give you better production. It can also create, it depends on the terroir and the good practice applied during harvest, incredible flavors, including some florals. I'm not saying it's a Panamanian geisha floral, but it has some florals with the other attributes, with the sweetness, with the body, with the Brazilian touch. But buyers recognizing this value and paying higher prices in a Brazilian variety in a COE auction than in a geisha. So I think it's an opportunity. I am a big fan of the Panamanian work. They are unbelievable. The coffees are very, very good. Now, one thing is trying to copy, not necessarily the best attitude or the best strategy for one country, but having something unique that is from Brazil. So this is what we can do in the Brazilian terroir with the Brazilian variety. We can also have this exchange, this benchmark with other countries, but keeping our personality, our Brazilian touch, our Brazilian soul.
Exactly, yeah, because as you just mentioned, yes, Panamanian has a specific flavor profile, but it will be boring in general if every country will copy this profile, isn't it? Like, okay, we have floral in Colombia, floral in Brazil, so we might lose the character, unique character, yeah, so it's better to enhance what you have with a better transparency, like clarity of coffee, with nice, pleasant acidity, complex acidity. Yeah. So and Brazilian touch. It sounds very well. Also, a question like. Is it true like C market can kill specialty coffee prices, or like what is the situation? Like I'm still trying to understand because specialty coffee is expensive and regular coffee is became expensive.
Yes.
It will impact on the specialty side?
Depends on the kind of negotiation. So there are some contracts that they are done with outright prices, no matter what is the price in the C market. But I should say like biggest majority of contracts, they are done using differentials and using the C level as a reference.
Yeah.
Okay. So if C market goes higher, differentials keep specialties with a higher differential from the C market. Okay. So depends on the relationship. What we are seeing right now with prices with C market achieving this 300, 400 cents per pound, that used to be some of the prices like micro lots used to be traded. Some farmers, some buyers, they are making agreements of keeping the outright price. So there are some specific cases where some farmers are selling specialties with prices that they had agreed in the past in outright prices that maybe now they are lower than the C market.
Yeah.
But this brings several problems to the chain if it's massive. For example, if you have some buyers with big contracts with these outright prices, and if the market price goes high, and if you have any kind of crop frustration, maybe for weather or something like that, you can start collapsing the chain. So the farmer does not have his own coffee to deliver. The farmer will need to come to the market to buy coffee, to deliver the coffee in that contract. But as now, the price in the C market is higher than the price that the farmer negotiated in the past, they will lose money. So this disruption in the chain is some collateral effect that may happen in this kind of negotiation.
Yeah.
So they can do part of the harvest negotiated in outright prices, different from the C market, and sometimes the prices are very high, like $6 per pound, $7. No problem with that. They keep doing that. But I would say the most majority of specialties, they are negotiated using the C level as the base and placing a differential, a positive differential in the top of that for specialty.
And who is eventually generating more money these days because of this turbulent situation?
From my experience, the funds that keep moving the prices up and down. Not buyers, not sellers, not roasters. Like to make money in such a volatile chain is like trying to do direct trade in sense of know your partner, know your supply chain, know who is producing the co-op, the region, the farmer, know who is your exporter because you need to assure the quality control, all the standards. Know your partners for logistics because one thing is, okay, I went to origin, I love it this lot, how to make it get for me. So you need like the standards for dry milling, storaging, logistics, all the bureaucracy. And if you start losing time and efficiency, you start losing quality and you start losing even more money. So what was theoretically a good deal, a cheap product, if it does not arise for you in the quality, on timing, and in the price that you negotiated, is not a good deal anymore. So again, the right exporter that can ship you on time, then the right importer, a good warehouse to keep the product for you. So all these and your financial like hedging or not. So understanding your partners, it's a very long chain. The chain is all intercorrelated. And if we do one mistake in each part of the chain, and I compare this with coffee, it's like a good coffee. So a good direct trade agreement is like a good coffee. If you don't have a good partner in each one of the sides of the chain, you will collapse the final result. And it's the same with the coffee.
Yeah.
If it's a lack of nutrition, if it's weather problems, processing techniques, storaging, even drying, or shipping, or roasting, or brewing, grinding, the quality of the water, the environment, the temperature, will not deliver what you were
Exactly.
expecting.
Yeah.
So I would compare this complexity of the cup of coffee with the complexity of the coffee value chain.
Yeah, wow. So coffee is such a beautiful product, and I want to speak with you forever, but we have to wrap up. So, with the final questions, I would love to just ask you, what is your current projects? Like, what are you doing right now in order to promote more specialty or more commercial coffee, or you work with both markets?
Yeah. So actually with BSCA, we closed this great partnership with SCA, bringing the SCA educational platform to Brazil. So like three questions before this one, we were speaking like the role of education on transforming mindsets. And one of the big things is Brazil is a big producer and it's now the second biggest consumer. So if we can bring world-class education in an affordable way, and this is what we are doing with this partnership with SCA, with the new structure of prices, we can create a generation of coffee lovers, professionals, enthusiasts, and turn Brazil also in the biggest consumer or even a bigger consumer, and increase the consumption of specialty in Brazil, creating more opportunities for farmers, for trading their specialty lots in the country. For professionals, you're going to have more raw material, you're going to have more consumers. So it's really creating this sense of community in Brazil. So to
Yeah.
make more Brazilian world champions in the competitions and bring education. And education for sure, like bringing these better courses, these platforms, and making it affordable to the different parts of the country. So connecting Brazil to the world.
Wow, I'm so inspired by your job. And again, I am going to say it again. I would love to speak with you more because Brazil is such a huge country. It's a crucial player in our industry. And I'm really inspired by your job. And yeah, we can talk after the podcast as well. But thank you so much for this insights. I believe that our audience will love the conversation because Brazil, yes, everyone knows Brazil, but not everyone knows about Brazil, what's really happening. Yeah, thank you so much, Luis.
It's my pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, thank you.